We're on a mission from God.
And now for something completely different.
Let's get ready to rumble! Yeah, baby, yeah!
Good morning and a happy Saturday to everyone. I'm Pastor Matt Youngblood Clark from Ascension Lutheran Church in beautiful South St. Louis.
And I'm Pastor Jolly John Lekumsky from St. Paul's Lutheran Church in New Athens, Illinois. And let's not forget Trinity Lutheran Church in Darmstadt, Illinois.
Never forget Trinity.
No. And I have just a couple of things to talk about. First of all, how was your Christmas?
Did we say what the show is?
Oh, no, we didn't. We always forget that.
We're terrible at that.
We are.
This is
Wrestling
with the Basics.
And Matt, it looks like you're coming out a little hot there. I see you coming up red there. So just there we go.
Okay.
All right.
Is that better?
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I'm just watching the thing. We're in a new studio here, so please excuse us. This is not our usual studio, but we're making do here with Wrestling with the Basics, as Matt said. And the reason I was asking about your holiday, because I had a really nice present. In fact, if I can find out where the people that gave it to me, my kids, my stepkids, I'd like to get one for you. It's a wonderful T-shirt, and it's kind of like the theme, I think, of our show. It says, "Don't kill innocent plants." You know what it says then, don't you, Matt?
There's a punchline, huh?
Yeah, eat bacon.
Eat bacon.
So, yes, we are your bacon-eating program.
That's good. We do what we can for the pork producers of America.
Did you have bacon this morning? I had bacon. I had a bacon, egg, cheese sandwich.
Oh, nice. No, I did not. I just had a bowl of cereal.
And here's the other thing I wanted to just share, just as we're kind of getting some preliminaries out of the way. You know, I was thinking, I'm so disgusted at the way they have commercialized the holidays. Would you agree with me?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, overdone.
Yeah. But of course, you're probably thinking of Christmas and Easter, but I'm thinking of Talk Like a Pirate Day. Do you realize they've even commercialized Talk Like a Pirate Day?
Is that right?
Can you imagine that?
Golly.
Yeah, well, now apparently it's some big promo to get you to go eat at Long John Silver's.
Is that right?
If you go in and talk like a pirate, they give you an extra piece of fish. Come on, people. Let's keep the sanctity of Talk Like a Pirate Day.
Something so pure and wholesome as Talk Like a Pirate Day.
Yeah.
To have to go and commercialize it. How
like
terrible.
that. So, all right.
It's going to be devoid of all of its deep meaning before you know it.
That's right.
Quit making things up.
All right. So now here's what really intrigues.
So wait, when is Talk Like a Pirate Day?
Well, you know what? It's in September sometime, isn't it? You're the one told me about it. I didn't know about it. You're the one that told me.
I thought it was maybe right around the corner since you're bringing it up.
Well, no, it's just, I actually read an article that was talking about how in our country, our holidays have all become commercialized.
Yes,
And it tickled me that was one of the holidays that the article mentioned.
It really did. It highlighted Talk Like a Pirate Day.
That's right. Because now, no, it's not just about talking like a pirate. For the joy of talking like a pirate, no, you can go in and get an extra piece of fish.
Well, you know, people talk about playing Christmas music a month before Christmas. They're talking like a pirate weeks before Talk Like a Pirate Day.
Just to get free fish.
Just to get the free fish. What is this nation coming to?
But see, what really intrigues me, so enough of the goofiness, because we have our mandatory goofiness. That's what makes us Wrestling with the Basics. But you intrigue me, because Matt and I,
All right, now, there's no time for foolishness.
We do a little communication before the show. It might be hard to believe. But Matt said you wanted to talk about the story of Daniel, but you wanted to tell us more than what you might get in the Sunday school lesson, and that kind of intrigued me.
Yeah, so Daniel and the Lion's Den. I think that's one of the classic Sunday school stories.
It is.
And rightly so, right?
Yeah.
That story of God's deliverance, and I think we all know how the story ends, and that's good. But there's some other nuggets there, I think, when we dig a little deeper that apply to our lives in other ways, too.
Okay.
Certainly that deliverance of God. Oh, boy, that's key, right, in the story.
Yeah, if you're going to be in a Lion's Den, it's good to know.
It's good to know, right? But then also, just in terms of the king and his edict, and when the king commands not just Daniel, but everyone to do something that's really opposed to God. How does Daniel deal with that? How does he wrestle with that? Because certainly that could still happen today, and in some parts of the world it is happening right now.
Yeah.
And in terms of lions, I think something to kind of keep in mind here. I know you kind of said that in jest. We don't have to worry about lions all that much, but maybe one lens to look at this account with is through that lens of that very real lion, that ferocious lion.
The devil is like a roaring lion. Is that what you're referring to?
Exactly. Someone who doesn't seek just to devour us in body, but body and soul, and to bring us death, not just now, but for eternity. So I think that's another way to look at this story too, is not just in terms of God's deliverance from these literal lions that Daniel's dealing with, but what about that very real lion who seeks to devour us? Even if we aren't thrown to the lions here in this life, what about that lion that seeks to devour and destroy?
Well, you got me hooked.
Okay,
so where do you want to start doing the story?
We're in Daniel chapter 6, all right?
Okay.
And just to kind of set the scene, the book of Daniel begins with folks from Judah being departed, taken away by the Babylonians. So they take away kind of the best, the brightest, the youngest, the good-looking,
You
the
and I
strong.
would have been left behind.
John and I
would have been an issue for us.
We'd be left behind. That's something we would not have had to worry about.
That's right.
But there were people that did involve, and there's some pretty familiar people. So we got those three guys in the fiery furnace,
okay, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Rack, Shack, and Benny, right? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Just a tip of the hat to the VeggieTales folks that give them those clever names, Rack, Shack, and Benny. And then you also have Daniel, too. He's named among those, too. So this story picks up now with Daniel. Now, the guy, the Babylonian king, in the beginning of the book is, as VeggieTales calls him, Mr. Nebuchadnezzar. Never, yeah, Mr. Never. Nebuchadnezzar, yeah. But Nebuchadnezzar, in other words.
Yeah.
But now it's a different king.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Who's king now?
Well, we're going to read and find out. So now it's King, as he's named here, Darius.
Darius. Before we go on, isn't that interesting, though? So they were taken captive, and yet they still served in the courtyards of these Babylonian kings. You would think they'd say, hey, I can't do that. No, that would be, that they go, they work for them. Yeah.
Yeah, and not only do they serve, I mean, they thrive. And can you, as we go through this, I mean, I think that's so interesting. Can you think of any other examples in Scripture where that's the case? This isn't the only time, right? So even before them, we have that guy with the coat of many colors, right?
Oh, that's right. Joseph serving in Potiphar's court and then in Pharaoh's court.
Pharaoh, this pagan king, right? And yet he's serving in his court, second in command even, and yet he serves.
Because I think there are a lot of Christians who say, oh, no, the government, it's secular. In fact, our government now has got a lot of things that are corrupt and stuff. So Christians should, but no, apparently, no, Christians can serve in a secular government too. Even if it's this is not a good government. This is a wicked government, as we'll see in the story. But we can still serve them.
Most definitely. And that is just, so, I mean, already we're thinking, these are not issues that you wrestle with in Sunday school, but yet they're here in this account.
They are.
And I think for us as adults, as we wrestle with this, these are some issues. How do we as a Christian, a follower of the Lord, like Daniel, how do we relate to government and to secular life? And can a Christian in good conscience serve in the government? All those things I think are sort of wrapped up in this account. And we get a picture of how does Daniel in faith handle those things.
That's the issue. So we can do it. We cannot just say you shouldn't be part of it. In fact, we probably should be part of it as Christians, but there's probably a place where we have to draw the line.
Yeah. And, and I'm going to just extend this a little more.
Yeah.
All the prophets, I mean, they're not necessarily in the courts of kings working for the king, but certainly they interact with kings, right? And certainly they speak that word of the Lord to kings, and certainly they didn't isolate themselves from the secular authorities, but instead God even times calls them to be very close to them. And
yet, see, there's a difference if you're a prophet, because you're not actually working for the king.
You're not on the payroll, right?
But you're right. They continue to interact with them and speak to them. But now Daniel, no, he's actually working for the king.
Yes. So Rack, Shack, and Benny, Daniel, these guys they're in the courts. They're working for the king.
Yep.
And how do they deal with that?
All right. So how far do you want me to read here? Well,
let's do chapter 6. This is a pretty good chunk. We're going to have to move a little fast. But let's do chapter 6, verses 1 through 3. Let's get started.
It pleased Darius, so that's the new king, to set up over the kingdom 120 satraps. Now, these are not the traps used to catch mice, right?
Those are the mouse traps.
No.
These are the satraps.
So what is a satrap?
That's just a
didn't-
title.
Okay,
So
all
a
right.
title for someone who is an official in the king's court.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
So we're getting the bureaucracy set up here.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So instead of senators and congressmen, representatives, you got your satraps.
All right. And to be throughout the whole kingdom, and over them 3 presidents. Now, we know that term.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of whom Daniel was one. Well, he
right.
was a president.
So he's a big muckety muck, right? He's not just
Wow.
a satrap. No, he's a
He's
president.
a president.
One of the 3
Big
presidents.
muckety muck. You kids.
That's what the Hebrew says.
the
The original Hebrew of them.
Okay. All right. So, in fact, it does say that.
Making things up.
To whom these satraps should give account. So he is the big muckety muck.
They answer to Daniel.
So that the king might suffer no loss. So he's actually serving the king to make sure the king benefits and prospers. And this is a foreign, pagan, alien king.
Yeah, and as we see,
Gentile king.
and as we see, well, we'll see in a little bit. The king, he likes Daniel. Daniel's doing a pretty good job
Yeah.
for the king.
So then this Daniel became distinguished above all the other presidents and satraps because an excellent spirit was in him. And the king planned to set him over the whole kingdom. Wow. Kind of like Joseph
bad.
again. Yeah.
Exactly. So I mean, I think that's a really good parallel is Joseph himself. And why? Because there was what in him? An excellent
Spirit.
So it's not just Daniel, and it wasn't
Yeah.
just Joseph, and it's not just Rack, Shack, and Benny, but it's God working in them and through them and blessing the work that they do on behalf of a pagan king even.
And see, that's a good thing for us to remember. If there's anything good coming out of our vocations for whoever we're working for, it's got to be because God is giving us that spirit too. We could not do that in and of ourselves. I think that's what makes us different as workers, as Christians. We're not really reliant upon our own efforts, but we consider every ability, every talent, every skill we have, that's a gift that God has given us, and we want to use it to the best of our ability.
Exactly, not just for us pastor types, but
Yeah,
for
for
husbands and
everybody.
wives,
Plumbers,
for those
electricians.
people who work in the federal government here in the United
Yeah,
States, which
yeah.
a secular government, right? But yet God blesses and God works through and can make us a blessing to those different callings.
Then the presidents and satraps sought to find a ground for complaint against Daniel. So they were getting jealous, huh?
Yeah, well, Daniel again, as good as he is, keep in mind he's a foreigner, right? He's a
Yeah,
Hebrew.
yeah.
All right, and he's one of the top 3 guys.
Oh man, that'd be like having a Muslim have a
Well,
key position in government or something,
yeah,
right? That'd
yeah.
make you uncomfortable,
Yeah.
wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But they could find no ground of complaint or any fault because he was faithful and no error or fault was found in him. Then these men said, "We shall not find any ground for complaint against this Daniel unless we find it in connection with the law of his God."
Oh, yeah. So I think this motivation is jealousy here. A foreigner, he's not from around here, he wasn't born here, but yet he's in this position of power. You mentioned a Muslim, but I think another example is just, a Russian
Oh, yeah.
becomes vice president, right?
Yeah.
Not born here, kind of a newcomer to the land. He still has their Russian accent even, and here they are in charge. What's going on? So Daniel still has his Hebrew accent, they want to take him down. No fault, though. Now, that doesn't mean Daniel's perfect, right? No, of course not. But the Lord is with him, and he's doing what's right, even in the eyes of the secular authorities. So they have to find some other way to take Daniel down, and they want to do something in connection to his faith, a connection to his God.
Should I keep on reading?
Yeah, let's go and read. Yeah, go ahead and go through verse 9.
Then these presidents and satraps came by agreement to the king, that's King Darius. Oh, it says, and, O King Darius, live forever. All the presidents of the kingdom, the prefects and the satraps, the counselors and the governors are agreed that the king should establish an ordinance and enforce an injunction that whoever makes petition to any god or man for 30 days except to you, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions. Now, O king, establish the injunction and sign the document so that it cannot be changed according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which cannot be revoked. Therefore, King Darius signed the document and injunction. Oh, I can see trouble already.
So yeah, everyone it seems in on it, right?
Yeah,
You got the presidents, the satraps, the governors. It's like nowadays the mayors even came and showed up and wanted the president to pass something, and I think it sounds to me like they kind of flatter the guy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, for 30 days, let's pass this on. No one praised anyone except for you, O king. You and really, if we're looking at our list of 10 commandments, I think it's probably number one on the
I
list.
should have
that
no
they're
other gods
bragging.
before me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And number two, maybe too, to honor God's name and only pray to him and praise his name. But here they are. And the king, he ends up signing the injunction.
Well, why
agrees to it.
wouldn't you? It sounds like a perfect injunction in law to me. If I'm
If
the
you're
head
king,
guy,
right?
Yeah, if I'm the king.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's a selfish thing to do. And maybe they stroke his ego and he signs.
But I am king after all. Pray to. I'll take care of you. Yeah. Okay.
But you think of kings throughout history, right? You think of all the different emperors in the Roman Empire, and you literally thinking they are gods themselves. Go back to Egypt. We mentioned Pharaoh.
Well, Christmas, Caesar Augustus ordering people to pack up their bags and move wherever
Yep.
they needed to because I'm Caesar. I can do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you wonder if the king had any inkling what they were up to. We don't get any indication that he did.
No, probably not.
And I
Probably
wonder
not.
at what point does he realize? Oh, wait a second. Maybe that
Uh-oh.
was maybe they were manipulating even me, the king. All right. Well, yeah. Let's keep going.
When Daniel knew that the document had been signed, he went to his house where he had windows in the upper chamber open toward Jerusalem. He got down on his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God as he had done previously. So out in the open, out in the public here, where everybody could see him. Then these men came by agreement and found Daniel making petition and plea before his God.
Yeah,
Then-
Well, let's stop there
All
for a
right,
second.
yeah.
So he's in this practice every day of going
Yeah.
home, opening up his windows, praying 3 times a day, facing Jerusalem. And that makes sense. Someone who's been exiled, he's facing home, right? And back where the temple and all those things are located.
Yeah.
And I can't help but think that they knew that Daniel did this on a regular
sure.
basis, and that's why they're targeting him. So they follow Daniel home. It looks like they waste no time, and he keeps on doing what he's been doing. And it's not that not that Daniel didn't know that this law had been signed.
no.
In verse 10, it's really
It
clear he
says,
knew
yeah.
the document had been signed. And what is this? There's the first thing he does. He goes home and he prays, and he and I think this is interesting too. And in his prayer there, in verse 10, he prayed and gave thanks.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
in the midst of this, he's giving thanks to God.
Yeah. And don't you think he gives thanks to God because he understands that he is going to be used as a witness now to all of these other people? That this God, as he says, I'll work everything together for your good. So even in this cross, Daniel knows, well, Lord, you're going to work some blessings out of this for me and hopefully for everybody around me too.
Yeah.
And
Perhaps so.
And see, the other thing I think it's interesting, he doesn't go do this secretly or hidden. Oh no, I better not. I guess I'll keep praying to God, but I'll close my doors and do it in a closet, which you could do because Jesus says that, doesn't he?
Yeah,
He says
yeah.
go pray. But no, he does this very open, very publicly because, as you said, this is a violation of the commandments of God. If it had something to do with personally with Daniel, I think Daniel probably would have just kept whatever he did secret and hidden. But because this is an offense against the Lord Almighty, nope, he's got to do it out in the open.
Yeah. And it's interesting. How does he react to this? What he knows to be an unjust law, and most likely even knows this is a law aimed against him in particular.
Exactly.
And still, he doesn't go and complain to the king.
Yeah.
He doesn't go and protest or in the streets or anything. Instead, he just keeps on doing what he's been doing.
Yeah.
He just keeps living out his faith. And he does it even though he may face consequences. He still just does what he does. He just continues to pray to the Lord. I think, as we dig a little deeper beyond this Sunday school lesson, I think something that's kind of convicting is, these guys know Daniel's a faithful guy, and if we're going to catch him doing something wrong, it'll have to be connected to God. What is our prayer life and our devotional life that faithful that if someone from the outside looking in would say, "Oh boy, that's what they're about," Matt or John or whoever it is, they pray. They're faithful. They're in the Word of God. And if they were looking to trip us up or something, would that be what would come to their mind first about us? Would that be what defines us, our devotional prayer life?
No, they probably do something with bacon.
With bacon!
If they were trying to cause me to fail, they would do something with bacon.
Tempt him with bacon. Well, and then I think, too, another way to word that is they look in on Daniel, and there's enough to convict him of breaking this law.
Oh, yeah.
And if a law like this were passed, is there enough evidence to convict us of praying
That's right.
and
If
being
prayer
on
were a
our knees?
crime,
If prayer was a
yeah,
crime, could we be convicted
yeah,
of it?
yeah.
So things to kind of consider, too, as we look at Daniel and his example in his life. But the story ultimately isn't about Daniel, right?
Nope,
It's about
nope, yeah.
Daniel's God and the one he's praying to. So let's keep on going here with verse 12 and following.
Then these men came by agreement and found Daniel making petition and plea before his God. Then they came near and said to the king concerning the injunction, "O king, did you not sign an injunction that anyone who makes petition to any god or man within 30 days, except to you, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions?" The king answered and said, "The thing stands fast according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which cannot be revoked." Then they answered and said before the king, "Daniel, who is one of the exiles from Judah," there's that foreigner bit you were talking about, Matt, "pays no attention to you, O king, or the injunction you have signed, but makes his petition 3 times a day."
Yeah, so I wonder if the light bulb might go off at this point.
At this
and
point.
especially if they're coming back the same day this was signed, who knows? And they bring these charges. Okay, well we're gonna have to speed it up a little, John. But if you
Okay,
want to
well,
go
we
through
don't get it done. We can
We'll
finish
do
it
our
up
best
next
here.
week.
Okay, well, let's just press on with verse 14 and following.
Then the king, when he heard these words, was much distressed and set his mind to deliver Daniel. So, like I said, the light bulb did go on, didn't it?
Yeah, and he cares about Daniel,
Yeah.
even though he's a foreigner. But this is someone the king favors.
And he labored till the sun went down to rescue him. Then these men came by agreement to the king and said to the king, "Know, O king, that it is a law of the Medes and Persians that no injunction or ordinance that the king establishes can be changed."
They're kind of maybe they see that the king might be waffling a little.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
getting to be midnight. He still hasn't given that order of
Yeah.
execution yet. He's stalling, so they remind him, and it's almost it reminds me a little of that New Testament account with Herod, right?
Oh,
and John
yeah.
the Baptist, and how
Yeah.
he kind of he's not so sure he wants to decapitate
Yeah.
John, but since everyone's watching, he goes ahead and does it. Sort of the same thing here too. Darius doesn't really want to do it, but they keep reminding him that he's obligated to do it.
And doesn't this say something about worldly power? That often people that think they are in control, they're really not. They also have to kind of bend their whim to the people that are around them and keep people impressed and probably do a lot of things that maybe they don't really want to do, but well, it's what I got to do to be
Unsavory
popular.
things. Even this king that is being prayed
Yes.
to
Yeah.
is being manipulated and by these individuals, by people in his own court.
So it shows that we probably don't have as much control, even if we were the king,
Yep.
that what we might think. Then the king commanded, and Daniel was brought and cast into the den of lions. The king declared to Daniel, "May your God, whom you serve continually, deliver you." Neat prayer, isn't it, man?
Yeah, and this is the only time that a pagan says, your God, and then later this phrase that he says I'm skipping ahead a little here. Darius will call him the living God. So, we start to see maybe God working on Darius' heart a little too. That's something to keep in mind as we read through the rest of here. But again, he really a blessing, almost a prayer that may your God deliver you.
And isn't it kind of ironic that the injunction was that you shouldn't pray to anybody?
And here's the king himself. I love that, Jack.
Yeah.
Great insight. Here's the king himself praying that
Pray
the
to your
Lord would deliver
Because
him.
obviously, praying to me is not going to help you in this situation.
Yeah.
Even I have not got the power
I
that
love
you might
it.
have thought.
Yeah, it's beyond my control now. You're on your own, Daniel. May your God deliver you. And maybe this recognition, too, that maybe the king deep down knows that even the false gods aren't going to be able to do it. These idols and others that he and others may worship, they're not going to be able to do anything either. It's up to Daniel's God if anything's going to happen.
That is a cool insight, because he could have easily said, well, pray to the God of the Babylonians. But no, he recognizes, no, there's something special about Daniel. Maybe. And in fact, that's the only hope there is at this point, isn't it? Because he's not going to help him. The lions aren't going to help him. Somebody else is going to help him. So here's the call. So we'll finish this up next week, because you kind of left us hanging.
Well, we can't leave Daniel in the lion's den.
Well,
right?
I don't know. Maybe not. Lord, let's leave him in the lion's den over the week.
Yes.
Will he
We
be
gotta
eaten?
come back,
You've
though.
got to come back. Will Daniel be swallowed? Will he be eaten whole? We'll find out next week on Wrestling with the Basics.